This data from China, it's a little bit shocking. Some people will be butthurt about the data. They will be butthurt. So let's preface this with what's actually going on in China. Audi, Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, and BMW, the four major German luxury car brands in China, well, they've historically made most of their profits from China, which is a shock to most people, but it's actually true. But they posted steep delivery declines in the first half of this year. In fact, Audi's China sales dropped 10% year over year to below 288,000 in the first 6 months, according to numbers the brand reported on the 28th of July. The decline can be attributed, among other factors, to the ongoing highly intense competitive situation in the market, said Audi, as their profits crashed over the last 3 months. China sales at Porsche, Mercedes-Benz, and BMW have suffered more severe contraction than Audi this year. Porsche said China deliveries fell by 28% in the first 6 months of the year, 28% after falling similar numbers last year. Without releasing numbers for the second quarter, Porsche's local sales plunged 42%. So Porsche's sales over the last 3 months in China just fell by 42%. They sold only 9,471 cars in the last 3 months. The last 3 months. It's only 3,000 cars a month. Mercedes-Benz said on July 9 that second quarter deliveries fell by just under 20% to 140,000 in China, with the volume for the first 6 months falling 14%, but the last 3 months down by about 20%. Combined sales of its BMW and Mini brands in China fell 14% to 162,000, with the year-to-date number sliding by 16% for BMW. For context, Porsche's sales in 2024 fell by 28%. Sales numbers from China have just emerged within the last 4 or 5 hours, and the results are quite shocking. This is BYD's first real, proper, massive challenge they're facing. Sales have fallen by 10%, and they have not increased at all on last year, which is a very, very shocking result. Other companies down 40%, other companies up 279%. Here are the sales numbers from China for the first 7 months of this year, but more particularly for the month of July, where everything, and I mean everything, is in flux. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. These numbers are very, very interesting because all of a sudden, things are appearing to be turning on their head. This is not at all what analysts expected. Suddenly we have all this, you could say, spotlight on China. You could say spotlight on some interesting sales practices. And all of a sudden, numbers have changed drastically. And I wonder if that's related. I'm curious to know what you guys think. All of this PR we've been seeing in China lately, there's clearly a battle between BYD and the rest of the automotive industry. They're at loggerheads. There's been some very heated and vocal arguments between them, even in a public meeting recently between CEOs of car companies. And the sales numbers are showing you that this market is just absolutely red hot. First of all, let's just have a quick overview for you guys. Quick overview here of the winners and losers in July, and then we'll have a bit more of the details. The Zeekr Group. Zeekr has merged with Lynk & Co. So Lynk & Co. and Zeekr were just, I believe, bought out by Geely, so they won't be a public company anymore. Could be a good thing for them. Their sales increased to 44,000 in July. Zeekr brand sales were 16,977, so 17,000 sales for the Zeekr brand, which is an 8.4% year-on-year increase and a 1.6% increase from June. BYD sales, surprising, their sales have dropped to pretty much the same level as last year. So BYD's meteoric rise has suddenly come to a halt. In fact, their sales are down 10% versus last month, which is unusual. Generally in China, sales continue to grow, except for February. From the start of the year, sales generally continued to increase a little bit until the end of the year where they kind of go crazy. Neo sales were 21,000. That includes the Onvo brand. So that's growth of 2.5% year on year, which is probably not what Neo were hoping for, considering the massive R&D that these guys spend and the amount of money that they're churning through every quarter. Let's be honest. People say I'm a hater for saying that, but it's just facts, right? Facts are eventually, if you're losing $1 billion a quarter, you might not be around eventually. Li Auto, they delivered 30,000 cars. A sudden collapse of 40% year on year. In the first 7 months of the year, Li Auto has delivered 235,000 cars, which is down 2.2% year on year. I'm a big fan of Li Auto. I love the new electric SUV. They just delivered the i8. I think it's a phenomenal car. So I think hopefully Li Auto bounce back. Leapmotor, they have a joint venture with Stellantis. And a lot of people think that Leapmotor are a true dark horse in Europe, that they're providing cars, the best value electric cars in Europe. Not sure if that's true, but that's what some analysts believe. Leapmotor delivered 50,130 cars in July, which was huge growth for them. Xiaomi, record number of sales for Xiaomi. They delivered more than 30,000 vehicles in July. That's a monthly delivery record. Of course, they're now selling the new U7. So that's obviously helped. Xpeng, they delivered 36,717 cars in July, which was growth of, for the first 7 months of the year, they have grown by 270% versus last year. They're currently the fastest growing car company in the world. So that's a quick overview of those numbers. Now, breaking it down, let's have a quick look at each car company. We'll try and spend about 1 minute on each of them. I'll give you my thoughts on where I think they're all going. I think Zeekr's deliveries have kind of stalled a little bit in China, but I expect that as they begin selling the 7X and the 007 GT, other cars globally, I think Zeekr really is, it's kind of a Volvo brand, like a sister brand to Volvo really, but I think a little bit more premium, and I think they have better looking cars. And there's a lot of buzz right now around the 7X. So even though Zeekr sales haven't really grown this year versus last year, I think internationally outside of China, we're going to see definitely some increases in, a pretty significant increase in sales over the next probably 5 months of this year. Now, what about BYD? Well, interestingly, BYD, I've been very, very highly criticized for my take on BYD's plug-in hybrid sales and on the plug-in hybrids themselves. I do think that their previous generation technology, it's not bad, don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's up there with the best hybrid technology in China currently. It was good when it was revealed, 18 months ago. It's sort of fallen behind a bit now. No, I think that's being reflected in sales, yeah? The company sold 344,300 vehicles in July, which was up 0.5%, basically flat, same numbers as June of last year, but down by 10% from June of this year. So BYD ceased production and sales of internal combustion cars in March a few years ago. But the truth is their plug-in hybrid sales were growing fast, but they're not actually anymore. In fact, they're actually declining. And I think that's reflective of plug-in hybrid sales in China. EREV sales are growing incredibly quickly, growing by 300% this year. Plug-in hybrid sales, not so much. BYD's commercial vehicle sales have been good, but they were up 106% year on year, but down 34% from last month. I don't know if this recent stuff, all the news articles around BYD have affected sales or not, but it does appear they might have. EVs, BYD sold 177,890 EVs, which was up 36.8% year on year. So BYD's electric car sales are growing, but they fell 14% from June. But anyway, BYD's EV sales, you could still say that's growth, really, couldn't you? 37% growth versus last year. Same thing you can't say for plug-in hybrid sales, which continue to fall month after month after month. BYD sold 163,000 plug-in hybrids in July, which was down 23% year on year and down 4.5% from June. This marks the fourth consecutive month of decline in BYD's plug-in hybrid sales. as well as the fourth consecutive month of sales below EV sales. You can see here, the market is turning towards electric cars and e-revs. I'd say e-rev sales are growing very quickly because a lot of e-revs have a lot more range than a lot of plug-in hybrids. The average range you're looking at might be between 70 to 120 kilometers of range. A lot of e-revs now we're seeing 200 plus kilometers, 400 plus kilometers of range. So it's a different value proposition. And e-revs, generally, the perception is they're an EV with a small generator motor. That's the perception in China. That's what some of the Chinese engineers have told me in person. And they believe that's the case. So you're buying an electric car that's got a small generator motor, and ultimately that means it's potentially going to be a better vehicle, potentially. But regardless of whatever that may be, plug-in hybrid sales clearly are falling for BYD. Clearly, there's a demand problem with their plug-in hybrids. And considering how many plug-in hybrids BYD have launched, it's not like they're not, you can't really say, oh, it's Tesla sales are falling because they don't have any models. They don't have new models. I mean, BYD brings out a new model every 2 weeks, and a lot of them are plug-in hybrids. A lot of them are huge numbers. BYD sells more plug-in hybrids than EVs now, more models. So this is not about the number of models they have. This is about demand for the actual technology itself, I think. And what do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Now, I should put a caveat on this. There's still really good sales numbers for BYD. Really good, but I think it's very clear over the past couple of months, there has been a slowdown in deliveries for BYD. So there's a lot of pressure on dealerships right now to sell the cars. And that's been part of the reason why we've seen massive discounting, particularly in China. NIO. All right, NIO sales, I think you can say, are kind of unpredictable. I mean, looking at NIO's sales chart here, it's kind of all over the place, isn't it? I mean, last month, you could say sales were pretty good. NIO delivered what would be actually some of their best months of the year. As you can see here in June, by far their best month of the year. But if you look back last year, look at like May all the way to November, very consistent sales, very similar to every month, right? This year, it's up and down, really kind of all over the place. And ultimately, the truth is that July was not a good month for NIO. NIO, it is a fact, does spend a lot of money on R&D. And they're just not selling enough cars to justify the investments they're making, in my opinion. NIO sales, 21,000, including the Onvo sales, including the new Firefly as well, they were a 2.5% increase from 20,500 from the same month last year, but a 16% decrease from June of this year. So a 16% decrease from last month. And they have a lot of models as well. They're not shy on models. They have plenty of new models coming all the time. The NIO main brand, though, is in trouble. It's a fact. NIO's actual main brand sold 12,675 cars in July, which was a 38% decrease year on year and a 13% decrease from June. So a 38% decrease. And they are good cars, but they are a little bit more expensive than their rivals. And let's be honest, you can't really say the market isn't there. It is there. The market is there. Look at Xiaomi's numbers. Like Xiaomi is a clear rival. They just sold more than 30,000 cars. They're a new car company. They really only have one model, just started selling a new model. So there is the demand. NIO isn't getting it for whatever reason. Now, Li Auto clearly not going so well here. They did just launch a brand new car, which I think is phenomenal, but I don't know if the market's going to like it. It's a bit odd looking. It looks a bit like an MPV. People are sort of moving away from that style. I personally would be more than happy to own one. I think it's a great car. But I mean, anyway, clearly Li Auto is undergoing some demand issues right now, delivering 30,000 vehicles in July, which was down by 40% year on year and down 15% month over month, meaning we're seeing consecutive 2 months in a row of year-on-year declines in monthly deliveries, bringing year-to-date deliveries below the same period last year. Li Auto is no longer growing, and for them, that is very stressful. That would be, right now, a big challenge for them. As of the end of July, Li Auto had delivered a total of 1.37 million cars since they began. And that's a lot of cars. Now, hopefully, this new 6-seat electric SUV, starting at $44,000 US, deliveries begin on the 20th of August. Hopefully, that helps them bounce back. It could. I'm not sure. But interestingly, Li Auto, 95% of their sales are plug-in hybrids. Yeah? And their sales are dropping as well. So is this some sort of funny kind of coincidence that Li Auto and BYD's sales are falling, plug-in hybrid sales in particular, or is this reflective of the market in general? Well, interestingly, Leapmotor sales continue to rise significantly, and they don't sell plug-in hybrids. Well, not yet anyway. I mean, Leapmotor, they're just an EV company, and look at their sales, very similar to Xpeng. I mean, look at these numbers from Leapmotor. 50,000 vehicle deliveries. That's a monthly increase of 127% year on year. Massive, massive growth. And so far this year, Leapmotor has delivered 271,800 cars, which was up. They're actually the second fastest growing car company in the world, growth of 149.9%. Second fastest in the world to only one other car company, as I mentioned before, which is Xpeng. Leapmotor aims to sell 500 to 600,000 vehicles in 2025, and it's very clearly on track to do that. Very likely it'll get to 600,000 by the end of this year. Tremendous success story. Apparently, now I didn't quite get it right before. Leapmotor does sell a couple of e-revs. They don't make up the majority of their sales, but I should point out they do sell a few e-revs and EVs. That's all they do. No plug-in hybrids. And their sales, as you can see, continue to grow. Big success story. In fact, if you think about it, 50,000 vehicle deliveries in the month of July. They could be on track to sell potentially 90 to 100,000 in December of this year, making them become a big name car company. We don't have their cars in Australia. We should. They should be on sale here. Now, I've already mentioned Xiaomi sales in a separate video, but their sales, they're actually the fastest growing car company this year. And I'll just move on finally to Xiaomi. Xiaomi delivered more than 30,000 cars in July. I don't like the fact that Xiaomi, we don't know their sales numbers. We don't know what they are, and we can never fully accurately report on them. All we get from Xiaomi is approximate numbers. I think that Xiaomi needs to follow the rest of the market. It looks like they're hiding something, and they're not. They're not hiding anything, but it looks like they are by not actually disclosing their numbers. Xiaomi just says they delivered over 30,000 cars in July, which to me, if I'm an investor, I'm looking at that going, why do you continually not tell us the numbers? You just say over this or over that. But these are really, regardless, very good numbers from Xiaomi. And Xiaomi most certainly does not have a demand problem. I believe they've pre-sold more than 300,000 of the new SU7. Which is a very good car for the price. It's not a car I personally have any desire to own. I just don't like cars that are not practical. I mean, it's the biggest car I believe you can buy in China that doesn't have a lot of interior space. Yeah, you can buy sedans. I'm not talking about sedans, but in terms of SUVs, it's really all style. It is a very cool looking car, but I think it's got a small boot. It's got not a lot of interior space. Looks cool, looks like a Ferrari, but it's also a bit of impractical car, being more of a design showcase. And clearly customers don't care about what I'm saying. Practicality is not on that first thing on their minds. I'm looking at Li Auto's EV, I'm looking at my car, and I'm thinking practicality for me is so important. But clearly people in China don't see it that way. And they're like, well, this thing looks freaking awesome. We want to get one of these. And the U7 had 200,000 firm orders within the first 3 minutes of going on sale, and more than 240,000 locked in orders within 18 hours. So the question here will be simply, how fast can they make the cars? How fast can they deliver orders? Because people will cancel their orders if it takes more than a year to get delivery, right? If they can't deliver 30,000 of just the SU7 alone per month, there's no doubt people will cancel. They won't sit around waiting for a car for 12 months. Because remember, within that 12 months, other manufacturers are going to bring out new cars that are going to be awesome, and people are going to see those. They're going to go, well, why am I waiting for so long? This is really annoying. I'm going to buy something else. So that's the question here. Can Xiaomi deliver these cars quickly? We don't know yet. We really don't know. Those are the sales numbers for China. Those are the winners and losers. There's obviously a lot in flux right now. I think most of it is success. Some of it's clearly struggle, but all these car companies are battling each other, and they're battling legacy automakers. Legacy automakers like Toyota and Nissan that are selling electric cars at a loss. They are selling EVs so cheap in order to try and claw back market share, to hold on to market share. And I don't know why no one is mentioning this. It's extremely important to mention. Margins in the automotive industry have never been lower, right? General Motors is losing money. Ford, their margins are minuscule. Volkswagen's margins are minuscule. Audi's margins, Porsche's margins, all of them are minuscule. This is why, because of this competition, because electric cars are being sold at such affordable prices. And the challenge here is this: how long can you survive under these conditions? How long can you continue to fight in this bloodbath? What are your thoughts? Let me know. Bye-bye.